My wife cheated with her boss, and now he's claiming half of our $300, $0 estate in court. I never suspected she'd betray me over property and money she helped us earn. Hello, everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing about how my wife, Lisa, cheated on me with her boss and now is trying to claim half of our estate in court. Honestly, the whole thing feels like a bad dream, like I'm stuck watching some twisted soap opera unfold in real life. But here I am, trying to make sense of it all, trying to piece together how everything went so wrong, and what I could have done differently. Lisa and I had been together for over 10 years. We met in college, built a life, bought a house, had a couple of kids. Things weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. We worked hard, saved money, and managed to build a comfortable life with a combined estate worth around $300, $0. I was proud of what we had achieved together, especially since Lisa was always the one pushing for stability, for security. She'd talk about how important it was to keep our family safe, how she wanted our kids to have a good future. But about 6 months ago, I started noticing little things. She'd be more secretive about her phone, always locking it, hiding texts. I'd catch her glancing nervously whenever I'd come near her computer. She'd cancel plans last minute, say she was working late or had an emergency. At first, I thought she was just stressed at work. She's a marketing executive, always busy, always on her phone. But then I found a few strange receipts in her purse, hotel bills, restaurant charges at places I'd never heard of, and some Uber receipts from late at night. She'd always brush it off, call me paranoid. "You're imagining things," she'd say. "You're overreacting." Then last month I saw her phone light up with a message from someone named Dave. It was a flirty, suggestive message about meeting up for a quick drink after work. I was stunned. I didn't even know she'd been texting her boss that way. I confronted her about it and she just laughed it off, told me I was crazy. "It's just work talk," she said. "You're jealous and insecure. Dave is just a friend." But I knew better. The tone of those messages was not just friendly. It was something more, something secretive. One night I decided to check her phone when she went to bed. I didn't want to be that guy snooping around, but something felt off. When I unlocked her phone, there were dozens of messages with Dave, some explicit, some just flirtatious. There were photos, nothing explicit, but enough to tell me they crossed a line. I saw plans to meet up again late at night in secret. That was the moment I realized she'd been lying to me for months. I felt this cold wave of betrayal wash over me. My stomach clenched. My mind raced. How could she do this? How could she lie so easily, pretend everything was fine, and then betray me like this? I was furious but also heartbroken. We had shared so much, built so much together. I thought I knew her. Turns out she had been hiding this affair from me, and worse, she was still planning to keep it going. The next day I confronted her. I showed her the messages, the receipts, everything I'd found. She looked surprised at first, then defensive. "It's not what you think," she snapped. "It's just sex, nothing serious. Dave is just a way to blow off steam. You're overreacting as usual." Her words stung. She was good at lying, and she knew exactly what to say to turn things around. She told me I was paranoid, that I didn't trust her, that I was imagining things because I was insecure. It was a pattern. Her denying, her gaslighting, her making me doubt myself. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. How could she dismiss this so casually? How could she betray me after all these years, after everything we'd built? I looked at her, trying to find the woman I loved in her eyes, but all I saw was a stranger. That's when I realized this wasn't just about some affair. It was about trust, respect, and the foundation of our entire life falling apart. I knew I had to decide what to do next, but right now I was just stunned, trying to process the fact that the woman I married had been lying to me for months, possibly longer. After that confrontation, everything changed. The house felt colder, heavier. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Every time I looked at Lisa, I saw lies behind her eyes, a mask she put on to hide what she'd done. I'd always thought she was the kind of woman who cared about stability, about family. Turns out she was willing to throw all that away for some cheap sex with her boss, Dave, who, by the way, is a total sleazeball. I started digging into her phone, her emails, her bank accounts. I wanted to understand how deep this went. I knew she was lying about the affair being just sex, but I needed proof. I found more than I expected. There were messages from Dave, yes, but also emails discussing their plans, secret meetings, times, places. She was trying to keep it hidden, but she was also careless. She thought she could get away with it like she had been for months. One evening, I came home early from work, and I saw her in the driveway talking on the phone. From my vantage point, I caught snippets of her conversation. She was angry, raising her voice. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught her saying, "It's not over yet. He's not going to let this go. The money, the house, he's claiming everything now." My stomach sank. That's when I realized she was talking about the court case, the fight over our estate. She knew about it, or at least suspected it. That was the moment I decided I'd had enough. I sat her down that night, told her I'd been watching, reading, digging into everything. She looked panicked for the first time. She tried to deny it, but I had enough. I told her I was done with her lies, that I was going to take control of my life again. I told her I was going to fight for my rights, for what I built, and that I wouldn't let her manipulate the situation for her own selfish ends. She spun this story about how she was confused, how she didn't mean for it to happen, how she was just lonely and stressed. I didn't buy any of it. I knew she was lying, just like she always did. That's when I decided to get a lawyer. I wanted to understand what I was up against. She kept insisting she'd fix everything, that she'd apologize and make it right, but I knew better. I'd seen her true face now. The manipulative, selfish, bitchy side that I'd never wanted to admit existed. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. But underneath all that anger was a deep sense of betrayal. I thought we had a partnership, a shared future. Instead, she'd been sneaking around, lying, cheating, all for a quick fling and some money. She was even talking about claiming half of our estate in court, trying to spin it as her right, because she'd helped us earn that money. That really pushed me over the edge. I mean, she's the one who helped build our savings, who pushed for us to buy the house, who was supposed to be my partner. Now she's claiming half of everything as her due. I started to realize how calculated she'd been. She knew about the court case, probably planned to use it to her advantage from the start. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. She'd always been bitchy, yes, but I thought it was just her personality. I didn't realize she was this manipulative, this cold. The more I looked into her actions, the more I saw her trying to spin the story her way to make me look like the bad guy. She'd lie about her affair, deny everything, then twist facts to make herself look innocent. I was furious, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I decided I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. I'd fight her in court if I had to. I'd protect my estate, my future, and my dignity. She's shameless, that woman. She's the kind of person who will lie to your face and then turn around and blame you for everything. I knew I had to prepare for a long fight, but I also knew I'd come out of this stronger. I'd rebuild, even if it meant starting over from scratch. Because the biggest lesson I learned is that trust is fragile, and some people are just good at hiding who they really are until it's too late. Over the next few weeks, things escalated quickly. I got a lawyer, and we started gathering evidence to defend my rights to the estate. Lisa, of course, was doing her best to spin her story, telling anyone who'd listen that I was controlling, jealous, and paranoid. She was bitchy about everything, constantly accusing me of distrust while she was sneaking around behind my back. The more I saw her in action, the more I realized she'd been planning this for a while. She'd always been good at playing the victim, but now her true colors were shining through. One day I came home to find her packing a bag. She told me she was going to her sister for a few days to clear her head. Yeah, right. I knew she was trying to get ahead of the fallout, maybe even trying to hide some of her tracks. I didn't say much, just watched her with a cold stare. That's when I decided I needed to hit her where it hurts, her pride, her lies, and her ability to manipulate the situation. I started digging into her finances more aggressively. Turns out she'd been funneling money into secret accounts, probably to hide her assets from the court. I found bank statements, transfer receipts, even some offshore accounts she'd set up. The woman was a master at hiding her tracks, but I had enough evidence now to prove she was trying to cheat the system. Meanwhile, Lisa kept insisting she was innocent. Every time I confronted her, she'd throw a tantrum, calling me paranoid, accusing me of trying to ruin her reputation. She'd say things like, "You're just jealous because I still love you," or "This is all your fault, you're too suspicious." That bitchy attitude of hers was relentless. She'd lie, deny, and then turn around and accuse me of being the one who's cheating and lying. I swear, her manipulative streak was almost impressive, if it weren't so infuriating. One night, I decided to confront her directly about her plans to claim half of the estate. I told her I knew about her secret accounts, about her attempts to hide money, and that I was prepared to fight her in court if necessary. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and said, "You're just mad because I'm leaving you. You always overreact like a jealous little boy." I was so mad I could have exploded. I told her she was a liar, a cheat, and a user. That her plan to take half our hard-earned money was just her latest scheme to control everything. She looked at me with that bitchy smile like she thought she had won. But I knew better. I'd seen enough to know she was desperate, and her desperation made her dangerous. I also realized she'd been grooming the kids to take her side, subtly planting seeds of doubt about me. That made me even angrier. How could she be so selfish, so manipulative? She'd betrayed me, lied to me, and now she was trying to turn everyone against me just to get her way. The truth was, I'd been blind for so long. I loved her, I really did. But her actions showed me she was more interested in money and control than in our marriage or family. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I knew I had to stand my ground, fight for what was rightfully mine, and not let her twist everything to her advantage. I started to plan my next moves carefully. I hired a private investigator to get even more evidence of her secret dealings. I wanted to make sure I had everything, every lie, every betrayal, every hidden dollar. I knew she was counting on her charm and bitchiness to wear me down, but I wasn't going to let her win. I'd fought too hard for what we built, and I wasn't about to let her walk away with half of my life's work just because she was good at lying and manipulating. This whole ordeal was a wake-up call. I learned that some people are willing to betray everything for their own benefit, and that trust is fragile. I also learned that sometimes the only way to deal with a manipulative, bitchy wife like Lisa is to fight back hard and not let her get away with it. I don't know what the future holds, whether we'll end up divorced or trying to salvage something. But I do know I won't let her destroy what I worked so hard to build. Not without a fight. The legal process was brutal. I never imagined how dirty a fight over money and betrayal could get. Lisa's lawyer was just as manipulative as she was, trying to spin her as the victim, claiming she was entitled to half of everything because she helped us earn it. She'd lie in court, twist facts, and make me out to be the villain for catching her cheating. I had my own lawyer, of course, and we spent weeks building a solid case. I gathered all the evidence, her secret bank accounts, the messages from Dave, the hotel receipts, even some photos she didn't know I had. What really pushed me over the edge was when her lawyer tried to claim the house was community property because she helped pay some of the mortgage early on. That was a lie. I paid the mortgage for most of the time, and I had the bank statements to prove it. But Lisa, being the bitchy, manipulative woman she is, kept insisting she deserved half because she contributed in her own way, by helping us earn money, by managing the household, by supporting me. I couldn't believe her audacity. She'd always been the kind of woman who'd tell me I was lucky to have her, that she was the backbone of our family, and now she was trying to claim half of everything because she'd helped us earn it. That was just her way of trying to justify her betrayal to make herself look like some kind of martyr. Meanwhile, I was furious. I'd worked my ass off to make that money, to buy that house, to give our kids a future. I'd sacrificed so much, and now she was trying to take it all away. I remember sitting in the courtroom watching her bitchy smirk as her lawyer argued her case. I wanted to punch her. I wanted to scream at her. "You lied, you cheated, and now you think you're entitled to everything." But I kept my cool. I knew I had to be strategic, calm, and precise. One of the most shocking moments came when I found out she'd been secretly talking to a divorce lawyer behind my back, trying to set up a way to get even more of the estate. I had no idea she was planning to leave me for good until I got the evidence. That was when I realized her plan wasn't just about money. It was about destroying everything I'd built and walking away with the lion's share. I also learned that her boss, Dave, was just as manipulative. He'd been pushing her to leave, promising her a better life, more money, a fresh start. I found emails where he told her she could have it all if she just played her cards right. That made me sick. How could she be so selfish, so willing to throw everything away for some quick sex and a promise of money? I felt like I was losing my mind. Throughout the court process, Lisa kept up her bitchy attitude, throwing tantrums, making snide comments about how I was jealous and possessive. She tried to paint herself as the victim, the wronged wife, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I knew her game. I knew her lies. I knew she was trying to manipulate everyone, especially the court. And then there was the money. The court documents revealed her attempts to hide assets, to shift money into offshore accounts, to make herself look poorer than she really was. I was stunned at how far she'd gone to cover her tracks, but I had enough evidence to blow her whole story apart. I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and disgust. Satisfaction that I was finally fighting back, and disgust that I'd been married to such a manipulative, bitchy woman. The whole experience was a roller coaster of emotions. I felt betrayed, angry, humiliated, but also determined. I'd come too far to give up now. I knew the court would see through her lies eventually. I just had to hold my ground. All the late nights, all the sacrifices, all the trust I'd placed in her, she'd thrown it away for a fling and greed, and I was done playing nice. This fight was about justice, about reclaiming what was mine. I wasn't going to let her take it without a fight. The court date finally arrived, and I was nervous but determined. I had all my evidence organized, screenshots of her texts, bank statements, offshore account info, the hotel receipts, everything. I knew Lisa would try her best to spin her story, to look innocent, but I was ready. I'd spent weeks preparing for this moment, and I knew the truth was on my side. Lisa showed up in court looking bitchy as always, her lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes darting around. She tried to act confident, but I could see the flicker of desperation behind her smirk. Her lawyer was whispering in her ear, probably telling her what to say, how to spin her lies. I just sat there quietly, knowing I had the evidence to shut her down. When it was my turn to speak, I laid out everything. I showed the court the messages from Dave, the secret accounts, the offshore transfers. I explained how she'd been lying, cheating, and trying to manipulate the system to her advantage. I told them how she'd betrayed me after all we'd been through, how she was trying to claim half the estate she had no right to. I could see her squirming in her seat, her bitchy attitude slipping for a moment. That was satisfying. Her lawyer tried to argue that Lisa contributed to the marriage in her own way, but I shot that down with the evidence. I pointed out how she'd been sneaking around, lying and hiding assets. The judge listened carefully, taking notes, and I could tell they saw through her manipulations. I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe justice was finally going to be served. Then Lisa took the stand. Her turn to lie, I suppose. She tried to paint herself as the victim, claiming she was just confused and under stress and that her affair with Dave was just a mistake. She even had the nerve to say she deserved half of everything because she helped us build our life. I almost laughed. That's when I saw her bitchy side come out, smirking, sneering, trying to look innocent. But the court wasn't buying it. Her stories didn't match the evidence. The judge asked tough questions, pressing her on her secret accounts and her plans to leave. Lisa's answers grew more frantic, her confidence crumbling. It was clear she was losing control. Then the judge looked at me and asked if I had anything else to add. I told them about how she'd been planning to leave, trying to take everything, and that her betrayal was the reason I was standing there. I looked directly at her and said, "This woman betrayed our vows, lied to my face, and tried to steal what I worked so hard for. I ask the court to see her for what she is, a manipulative, selfish woman who doesn't deserve half of our estate." When the judge finally made the ruling, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't everything I wanted. She was still trying to claim some of the assets, but I'd managed to protect most of what I'd earned. The court ordered her to pay back the offshore accounts and she was denied half of the house. She looked furious, her bitchy smirk replaced with pure rage. She spat out some insults as she stormed out of the courtroom, but I didn't care. I got what I fought for. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Lisa moved out of the house, bitter and angry, still trying to manipulate her way into getting more. I stayed behind, rebuilding my life, trying to recover from the betrayal. I filed for divorce, and I'm now focusing on my kids and my future. I've learned that some people are just good at hiding their true selves until it's too late, and that trust should never be given blindly. Looking back, I realize how much I've grown through this nightmare. I learned that even the most bitchy, manipulative people can be exposed if you're willing to fight for the truth. I also learned that money and betrayal often go hand in hand, and that protecting what's yours sometimes means fighting dirty. Most of all, I've learned not to let anyone take advantage of your trust or your hard work. If anything, this experience has made me stronger, more cautious, and more aware of the red flags. So to anyone out there dealing with a manipulative, cheating spouse who's trying to claim what's not theirs, stand your ground. Gather your evidence. Fight for what's right. Because if you don't, they'll just keep lying, cheating, and taking until there's nothing left. And trust me, the truth always comes out in the end. After everything was settled legally, I finally felt like I could breathe again, even though the scars of betrayal still lingered. Lisa moved out of the house, bitter and angry, her bitchy smirk now replaced with a scowl of defeat. She tried to manipulate her way into keeping some of the assets, but I was prepared for that. I had fought hard, and I wasn't going to let her walk away with everything she wanted, especially not after what she did. The house was quiet now. I looked around at the rooms we'd shared, the memories we'd made, and I realized how blind I'd been for so long. I always believed in her, trusted her, thought she was my partner through thick and thin. Turns out she was just a good liar, a manipulator who was willing to ruin us for her own greed. That realization hit hard, but it also freed me. I finally saw her for who she really was, selfish, bitchy, and utterly dishonest. Divorce was messy, but I managed to keep my dignity intact. I focused on my kids, making sure they knew they were loved and protected. I poured myself into work and rebuilding my life, slowly but surely. The court's decision gave me some peace of mind, but the emotional damage was still there. Every time I saw her bitchy face or heard her lies, I felt a flicker of rage, but I also felt relief. Relief that I'd finally stood up for myself and won. Looking back, I realize how much I learned from this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and some people are better at hiding their true selves than you could ever imagine. I learned to be cautious, to ask questions, and to never take anyone's word at face value. Money, betrayal, manipulation, they all go hand in hand, and you have to be prepared to fight tooth and nail for what's rightfully yours. Most importantly, I learned that revenge isn't about getting even. It's about protecting yourself, your future, and your dignity. I didn't want her to walk away with half my estate just because she was bitchy and manipulative. I wanted justice, and I got it. I wanted to prove that honesty and integrity still matter, even when everyone else seems to be lying and cheating their way to the top. So, to anyone reading this who's going through something similar, stay strong. Keep your evidence, stay calm, and don't let anyone take advantage of your trust or hard work. Sometimes, the truth needs a fight, and if you're willing to stand your ground, you can come out the other side stronger than ever. Because in the end, no one can take away your dignity if you refuse to give it up. And I can tell you from experience, fighting for what's right is the only way to truly move on.